I got to go to the other Virgin offices. I got to learn about inter-office politics because Virgin wanted to kill Command and Conquer until the day it shipped.
Really?
Yeah. They wanted to kill it until the day it shipped. They thought it was just a complete boondoggle and a complete waste of money.
What?
And then all of a sudden they were like, oh shit, you guys pay our salaries. I guess we need to listen to you now.
I can't believe that they would look at. Did they actually look at like the game itself and the development? Did they have any understanding?
But you didn't have anybody there who knew good from bad. Yeah, you didn't have anybody over there at the time. So, they were too caught up in the politics of who controls what, and not caught up enough in what's a good game, right? And so we did that. And during the whole time that I was doing Command and Conquer, I was taking really, really clean notes about how long everything was taking. And, because at that point, no one in the company understood the concept of analytics. And I was applying, metric like analytics to the team. Like I would record what a team member said it would take and what it actually took, and what it would take and what it actually took. And I did that for every single task, start to finish on that whole project. And at the end of it, I took a couple of days to analyze the data and came up with like a coefficient for every single employee. I said, look, this guy usually comes 20% under, this guy usually goes 20% over, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And knowing how well I knew them, because I would also visit every single guy on the team and gal on the team every single day. So, I knew what motivated them. I knew what they were excited about. And originally, Red Alert was supposed to be an expansion. It was just supposed to be an expansion, and we were given a year to do the expansion pack. And I said, about 2 months into it, I said, I think I have the design and I have the idea, and I think I have enough understanding of where our asset pipeline is that we can do a whole game in that time.
Wow.
And of course, like the free work, what boss is going to say no to that?
Yeah, who's going to say I'll take the expansion as opposed to the full game in the same time and same budget?
Exactly right. And I had already built, in my spare time, I'd already built the framework of that idea, which was, what if every conspiracy theory project that you ever heard of coming out of World War II era technology was true, right? And what if Einstein actually does invent a time machine? What if all of Tesla's stuff is actually real? All of those theories are actually true. And what if Einstein invents a time machine, travels back in time, and since Einstein's Jewish, motivation there to kill, and he kills Hitler before Hitler's rise to power, right? And that leads to, well, gee, in a power vacuum, somebody else steps in, and Russia becomes the new big threat.
There's so much there. Yeah, there's so much, opportunity for creative freedom. It's really incredible that it wasn't done before almost.
And so I kind of had the skeleton of all that already. And I said, I think we can do this in a year. So we went off to the races, and we tried, we did it. We pulled it off. And, to my embarrassment, I will say, I think that the flaws that Red Alert had were flaws, unfortunately, that Westwood knew about and decided to ship with anyway. And that was, for me, the end of the road for me. And what I mean by that is, when I signed up to Westwood, they were like Blizzard. It's done when it's done. We do good product. We ship the finished game, not the half done game, right? And what happened between the original Command and Conquer and Red Alert is that the power shifted, right? Westwood was the purchased by Virgin underdog that had to prove themselves up till Command and Conquer. The moment Command and Conquer shipped and did so well, the president of Westwood, basically started running Virgin. Right. But when that happened, all of that, we do good product, we ship it when it's done, kind of just went away. And all of a sudden it became about quarterly revenue and, all of this stuff. And when I saw a product that I knew wasn't finished be forced to market outside of my control, I said, yeah, that's it for me. Right. That this place has taught me all it can.
Yeah. The writing's on the wall.
It was the same feeling that I felt, especially because of all the politics around that, right? Because I really fought hard to delay the product, right? I really fought hard to, we knew about the tank rushes. We knew about that I can't remember all of them. The tank rush is the most, the biggest one. And it was just ship it anyway, right? And it was like, wow, this place has really changed. right? And it's not the place I remember. And so that's when I moved on, and I did a tour of duty, kind of studying under the masters that I had played for. So I, spent time working with Richard Garriott. I spent time working with Sid Meier, and when I each in its turn, when I thought I'd learned all I can from them, I decided to move on. And after Richard, I just said, I think if it's now or never. I'm 30. I'm either going to start a game company now or I'm never going to do it. Yeah. And because if I fail, the world isn't over for me. And so that's when I started Liquid.
First of all, that's incredible. Like that, I think that's a powerful thing to take to any job. When you think you've learned or you've capped out your knowledge, or you think now it's going to be detrimental to be there, is to move on and seek new knowledge, seek higher education, higher experience. But there's so much stuff I wanted to ask you about Command and Conquer, because you said you worked crazy hours and all these things. I assume you probably worked in a time where crunch was maybe a yearly thing, as opposed to now where crunch is like a month or a couple weeks before, a couple months. I'd imagine you were working sometimes those hours for
Hold on just a second. Yeah. Hold on just a second. All right, I'm back.
No worries. So you did you have a lot of 60-hour weeks and stuff like that, and really
Yeah. I mean, let me do the kids these days story, right? So right. Kids these days they don't have a clue what crunch is, right? It's a joke to call what is called crunch these days crunch. Which, by the way, I'm okay with. I'm totally okay with that, because we're not meant to work as hard as we did back then. But at Westwood, if you didn't own a sleeping bag or have a couch in your office, we knew you weren't going to last.
Really?
Like we knew you weren't going to last. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I was in the office. I would say my holiday days were 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Right. I would say it was very common to be doing 10 to 12-hour days. And towards the end, you're sleeping in the office, right? You're sleeping in the office and you're going home to shower, and that's it.
Wow. That's
right.
Incredible.
And you're showering like every 3 days when people say we can't tolerate your smell anymore.
Right.
Right. It was a lot, right? It was, you just had to, like, number one, I was the project leader. So I wasn't going to be the only one that went home when other people were working, right? So I'm working whenever anybody's working. And sometimes that work was just sitting with the person, right? Because I, honest to God, didn't have anything to do. But, we also, it was just a very, very tough working environment. It was, at the time, Westwood controlled email. No one had email. So you didn't even have email to your desk, so you couldn't be distracted by that. And Westwood had a lock on Las Vegas. I remember one time that one of Westwood's products got a bad review in some magazine, and my boss just went out and bought every copy that was available in Vegas, so that no one could see it.
No way.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a very, very, because we were the only gaming company in Vegas, there was a lot around information control, and keeping people out of the know, so that they didn't know that there were competitive companies in better places, and things like this.
That knife analogy really makes sense now. It's a really ruthless. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now.
So it was a very fun time. I don't want you to get it wrong. No, but it was a fun time because we were all of the same mindset.
Yeah.
Right. I was not the only one working these hours, and in fact, I still think I didn't do as well as some other people did. There were people who would lose weight during this time. I mean, there were people that would really be in an unhealthy state. I mean, I part of my mission became making sure that people ate and slept some, and and I became like almost a sideline nutritionist for some of these folks. So, yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all.
Now it makes sense when you say, the company was not willing to extend deadlines to, push a better product. It really makes sense why that mattered so much more, because you feel like you're doing everything you can, literally, physically.
For sure.
You're doing everything you can.
For sure.
And you're saying, hey, we need a few more months. Like, I've been working 60 hours a week for the past year. At least you can do is, entertain that thought a bit.
Yeah, I mean, towards the end of Red Alert, I mean, we're sleeping 3 to 5 hours a night. for 6 nights. We're working all 7 days. And on the 7th night, we're giving ourselves 10 hours of sleep, 8 to 10 hours of sleep. So, and no one's doing anything but showing up to work or going home to shower.
Crazy. Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't like we're all like slacking and yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. And, it was like everybody was working really hard, and there's always, I should say on average, right? There were always people who were ahead of the curve and said, I'm not putting in an hour over it, right? There were always some people like that. They tended not to work out, but there were always some people like that. And I didn't have the luxury in those days to fire people and get new people. I had to work with what I had. So that person, stayed to the end of the project.
Fair. I mean, I think we could talk about crunches and work environments in the 80s and 90s all day, but it is the time.
It's horrible.
It is the time. That's what happened. We're trying to do better, obviously, now. But I wanted to ask you, now it kind of makes more sense. I was going to ask you what makes those games so special and stand out.